From the headquarters of the American Radio Relay League in Newington, Connecticut, this is ARRL Audio News for Friday, June 23, 2017. This program is produced by the ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, and features news highlights compiled from the ARRL letter, found on the web at arrl.org. I'm Sean Kutzko, KX9X.
And I'm your co-host, Carla Pereira, KC1HSX.
In this week's report, the 2017 Hamvention reports the second largest attendance ever.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service okays Baker Island de-expeditions with strict conditions.
And the 13 Colonies special event returns July 1st through the 7th.
Those stories and others, plus Bruce Page, KK5DO, with this week's satellite update, all coming up now.
Hi, I'm ARRL member Ron Oshu, KO0Z of Girard, Illinois, and you're listening to ARRL Audio News.
The tally is in, and Hamvention 2017 at its new venue in Xenia, Ohio, attracted 29,296 attendees, official spokesperson Mike Coulter, W8CI, told ARRL. That is the second largest attendance in the history of the event. Hamvention attendance peaked in 1993 at 33,669 before the 1996 change in date from April to May, when the show was still being held at ARRL Arena. Hamvention General Chair Ron Kramer, KD8ENJ, called 2017 a most successful year. "We knew this would be a big year, but this was even beyond our expectations," Kramer said. "The challenge was great to reinvent Hamvention at a new venue in a very short time period. From all the emails, letters, and calls I have received over the last few weeks, we have accomplished it successfully. We all recognize the traffic, rain, mud, and parking issues, but part of those issues were corrected even before the show weekend was over," Kramer said. Other issues are being worked on already for next year's show. He and Coulter said the Hamvention Committee has joined Greene County, municipal officials, and the Greene County Fairgrounds and Expo Center Advisory Board in addressing improvements for 2018. Coulter and Kramer also thanked the 657 volunteers who put in long hours to make Hamvention 2017 a reality. The Dayton Amateur Radio Association sponsors the event. "We can't control the rain, but we promise there will not be some of the other issues next year," Kramer said. "There may even be some new surprises in store," he added, pointing out that Hamvention has 3 more months to plan for 2018 than it did for 2017.
FCC Chairman Ajit Pai has announced that he intends to appoint Rosemary C. Harold to serve as Chief of the Enforcement Bureau. Michael Karowitz, who has been serving as Acting Bureau Chief, will become the Bureau's Deputy Chief. Harold is an attorney with experience within the FCC agency and in private practice. She's also a former journalist. This agency has a critical role to play in enforcing the law to protect consumers and support competition in the communications marketplace, Pai said. "Our Enforcement Bureau has been getting back on track in recent months, and I am confident in Rosemary's ability to continue this progress." Pai also praised Karowitz's work as acting chief. "Michael's steady hand at the helm of this important bureau has helped us stay on task in protecting consumers and enforcing the law," Pai said. The Enforcement Bureau is charged with enforcing the Communications Act, FCC rules, and various licensing terms and conditions. It also investigates instances of possible unlawful conduct involving the regulated RF spectrum.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has agreed that a de-expedition to Baker and Howland Islands, KH1, the fourth most wanted DXCC entity, would be an acceptable use, but it has detailed strict conditions under which it would issue a special use permit. Baker Island is 1,830 nautical miles southwest of Honolulu, an 8-day voyage. While not a wildlife-dependent public use according to the National Wildlife Refuge Administration Act of 1966 as amended, amateur radio operation is a use that assists in the management of the resources indirectly, the Fish and Wildlife Service said in its compatibility determination released on June 8th. By allowing amateur radio operators to visit the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument refuges, the refuges benefit through the ability of staff to visit remote island sites to monitor wildlife populations, habitats, detect invasive species introductions, and perform management actions that would otherwise require the service to charter a vessel. The compatibility determination mandated 18 stipulations for amateur radio de-expeditions visiting the refuge. A de-expedition to the refuge could last up to 14 days with only 12 days of radio operation. Complete avoidance of seabird colonies will minimize nest disturbance and prevent burrow nest cave-ins, the Fish and Wildlife Service said in the compatibility determination. Activities on Baker Island will always attract the land crabs that inhabit this location. All efforts must be taken to avoid inadvertently feeding or entrapping these animals.
Online, via podcast, and on repeaters around the world, you're listening to ARRL Audio News.
Now, with this week's satellite update, here's Bruce Page, KK5DO.
Wei BG2BHC of Harbin Institute of Technology in China, the builders of Lilacsat-1, requested an Oscar number for their satellite. As it met all the requirements for such, AMSAT Oscar number administrator Bill Tynan, W3XO, has issued Lilacsat Oscar 90 or LO90. We're closing in on Oscar 100. It should occur sometime within the next year or two. If you're wondering what satellite is operational in what mode, look at the AMSAT HAMSAT status page at amsat.org/status. As hams hear or work a satellite, they enter it, and then the tabulations show up in grid format. This is very helpful for new and old operators. As Field Day is upon us, if you do work a satellite, remember to submit your group's score toward the AMSAT Field Day. Satellite operators play and have fun on Field Day just like the CW, sideband, and digital hams. If you do not submit your score, even one contact to AMSAT, we never know you played satellite on Field Day. AMSAT complete rules can be found at amsat.org and click on Events, then Field Day. This is Bruce Page, KK5DO, for the ARRL Audio News.
Amateur radio came to the rescue of the Inspire 2 CubeSat, built by the University of Sydney in collaboration with the Australian National University and the University of New South Wales. According to the Wireless Institute of Australia, the CubeSat is designed to explore the lower thermosphere. After its deployment from the International Space Station in late May, Inspire 2 showed no signs of life. The engineering group on the ground concluded that the spacecraft's battery had depleted due to the CubeSat's extended stay on board the ISS prior to orbit. The ground controllers theorized that the satellite was trapped in an endless loop, but was still listening while trying to deploy its antenna, making reception of signals from Earth difficult. The ground team attempted to transmit a set of commands that would instruct the satellite to wait until its battery was charged before attempting to deploy its antenna, but failed. PI9CAM at the Cameras Foundation Dwingeloo Astronomic Observatory in Leiden, the Netherlands, responded to a call to the Moonbounce community and offered to transmit a high-power signal using a 25-meter dish that's normally used for radio astronomy but also for EME. Success of the approach was confirmed on June 11th, and the satellite had come back to life. WIA called it a wonderful example of successful collaboration between radio amateurs and the academic community.
Generators is the topic of the latest episode of the ARRL The Doctor Is In podcast. Sponsored by DX Engineering, ARRL The Doctor Is In is an informative discussion of all things technical. Listen on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, whenever and wherever you like. Every 2 weeks, your host, QST Editor-in-Chief Steve Ford, WB8IMY, and the doctor himself, Joel Hallis, W1ZR, will discuss a broad range of technical topics. You can also email your questions to doctor@arrl.org, and the doctor may answer them in a future podcast. Enjoy ARRL The Doctor Is In on Apple iTunes or by using your iPhone or iPad podcast app. You can also listen online at Blueberry or at Stitcher and through the free Stitcher app for iOS, Kindle, or Android devices.
Hundreds of amateur radio stations have reported receiving the whisper signal being transmitted by CG3EXP on 20, 30, and 40 meters from the Canada C3 expedition to track the vessel Polar Prince as it transits Canada from east to west via the Northwest Passage in 150 days to celebrate Canada's 150th anniversary. This marks the first time that whisper has been used to track a vessel. The expedition, which started on June 1st, will continue until October 28th, ending in Victoria, British Columbia. It's currently on the third of 15 planned legs of its journey, en route from Quebec to Prince Edward Island. The 220-foot-long Polar Prince, a former Canadian Coast Guard vessel, is a research icebreaker. CG3EXP has been transmitting on 20, 30, and 40 meters at 20-minute intervals since leaving Toronto on June 1st. The CG3EXP Whisper HF end-fed antenna on the ship's port side slopes up to the mid-mast at 62 degrees, some 46 feet of insulated wire, approximately half a wavelength on 30 meters. A live tracking link generated by QRP Labs, the supplier of the transmitting hardware, is being hosted by Jeff Milne, VE3EFF. Stations with an HF receiver and the free Whisper application can receive the CG3EXP signals directly from the ship on 40, 30, or 20 meters, and the location can be gated to the internet and tracked on WhisperNet. For more information, contact Barry Crampton, VE3BSB.
Hi, I'm ARRL member Mark Griggs, KB8YMN of Columbus, Ohio, and you're listening to the ARRL Audio News.
And finally, the 9th annual 13 Colonies special event will take place July 1st through the 7th, with activity starting at 1300 UTC on July 1st and continuing until 0400 UTC on July 7th. Participating stations try to contact all 13 Colony stations, plus 2 bonus stations, a clean sweep a la the ARRL November sweepstakes. Stations in each of the original 13 colonies will be on the air using a 1x1 special event call sign. The bonus stations will be WM3PEN in Philadelphia and GB13COL in Durham, England. Call signs in their respective states are K2A in New York, K2B in Virginia, K2C in Rhode Island, K2D in Connecticut, K2E in Delaware, K2F in Maryland, K2G in Georgia, K2H in Massachusetts, K2I in New Jersey, K2J in North Carolina, K2K in New Hampshire, K2L in South Carolina, and K2M in Pennsylvania. Additional information is available on the 13 Colonies website.
That concludes ARRL Audio News for this week. Our thanks to all contributors to this week's report. ARRL Audio News is produced by the American Radio Relay League, the National Association for Amateur Radio. For more information on amateur radio or the ARRL, visit us on the web at arrl.org. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching for ARRL. If you have a question or comment about audio news, email us at audionews@arrl.org. This program is copyright 2017, all rights reserved. Until next week, I'm Carla Pereira, KC1HSX.
And I'm Sean Kutzko, KX9X73, and thanks for listening.